Then you're very welcome to the Fantasy Tuben. I'll be doing this session in English for the benefit of English listeners. So if you like this content, please subscribe, hit the like button. Feel free to join in, leave a comment, or just tell me what you think about things I said. This video I'm gonna go through the possible lineups, Group A to D, and look at possible matchups. And I got a huge shout out to Fantasypedia for providing with the lineups. I'll be giving a link in the description below also to him. So let's go to and let's start with Group A. And if we look at Group A, probably the likely winners are the Netherlands. It's a pretty weak group. You can see they play against Senegal, Ecuador, and Qatar, and they're big, huge favorites. And there have been some mix-overs in the national team, and Silesen has been sent home, so probably Passwear at 4.5 million is a possible fantasy player to look at to get in your team. We should say that it's not entirely sure who will be the starting goalkeeper for the Netherlands. And we look at the pre-World Cup. Dumfries and Depay have been injured, and as it looks, possibly Dumfries as a $6 million excellent buy in your fantasy team. He will most likely be fit for fight in game week 1. Unfortunately, Memphis Depay, who topped both the assist and the goal scoring in the Euro qualification for the World Cup, won't be fit for the first round, so let's chill down a little bit with him. Otherwise, you can look at Bergwijn for 7 million as a midfielder. He plays as a forward here, and he'll be an excellent buy, and I'm sure he'll provide a lot of points, both assists and goals for you. So he's a good play to look. And if you look at the national team of the Netherlands in general, as they're famous for is their fun attacking football, and I'm sure they will want to play that, and I'm sure Gakpo will have, at least in the beginning of the tournament, that the number 10 role as an attacking midfielder behind the front two. Whoever will replace Depay, we will see. Probably Depay will come later in the tournament, since he is a key player in this group and in this Netherlands national team. So that's the Netherlands, and some people think about doubling up on the Netherlands and the Netherlands defense. I'm not sure that's a good idea, because the Netherlands is not only famous for its good attacking football, but also for its poor performances to keep a clean sheet. So don't expect many clean sheets. Perhaps there can be some in the group, but at least on the latter stages, they're not the team that is famous for holding their clean sheets. But they should be top of the group, and you should give it a good thought, thinking about, because Senegal, Ecuador, and Qatar is one of the weakest group in the tournament. So pick your Netherlands, pick someone you think will start. Let's go through, and we go with the home nation Qatar, and we have Afif in the offense and Al-Sheb. I've been looking on both them, and at the moment I have Al-Sheb in my team, 4.5 million goalkeeper, and there has been some rumors, so let's hope they're not true, but there has been some rumors that Qatar has bribed Ecuador to lose in the first game at 1-0. So let's see if those rumors are true. Let's see if it happened. Hopefully it will not, but Ecuador could be a good offensive side, but I'm not really sure how they will end up in this first game of the tournament. So Al-Shib could be a good buy. Passwear is the other alternative, and he seems a lot more sure. Let's look at Senegal, and they will have a very difficult tournament. Problem with getting out of the group, and they were not favorites in the group, and as you can see, all the players they have aren't the most famous one. We recognize Sarr from Premier League and the Gay brothers, and Mendy in goal is not the Mendy of Chelsea, it's another Mendy, but Koulibaly is the Koulibaly of Chelsea. So they have good players, but as a team and as a unit, I think they will have a very difficult time in this World Cup, and not the least when they have lost their key player Mane. So I think they will have a difficult scoring in this without him on the pitch, and I will not be going for any offensive players at Senegal. The last team in the Group A is Ecuador, and some good players, some good offensive players. They for goal scoring, they're among the most likely to score in the first game. Set aside if they lay down their weapons to the money of Qatar. But actually, I'm not looking pretty much anywhere except for Estupinian in left back, wing back role there. We recognize him from the Premier League to be a good offensive wing back, have the end product, and I'm sure he will do fine in this World Cup. Take a look at Group A, and the favorites perhaps is Harry Kane. Not perhaps, most likely they will top this group, and they will top it after 2 games. So they will rest some players, probably against Wales, or if they feel a derby nerve, perhaps they'll roast a good lineup anyway. Good of a talent and a good many good players in this, and have Harry Kane in the image, and he's the recognized striker, he's the penalty taker, he's the star of the national team. Although we might have too big expectations on Harry Kane scoring, because England seldom score more than 1 goal in the tournaments, and they're more likely to keep a clean sheet and then get a second goal, I think. So perhaps if they score 1 or 2, they will be satisfied with that, and they'll go back to defensive shape. And most of the offensive players like Foden, Saka, Sterling, they're doing a lot of defensive work in this team. So it's really perhaps Shaw and Trippier as the wingback that we can rely on. Pickford could also be a good shout, because in the championship and tournaments, England has been good at keeping clean sheets and keeping it clean at back. Perhaps surprisingly, Maguire hasn't had a good session at the United this season, but I think in Southgate's 11 he's pretty nailed, and also has proven himself to be a good attacking threat. So perhaps he can nick a few goals even in this tournament. As you know, it's 7 points for a player in the goal. So if he hits the goal, it will be a huge haul for him. And if he had a clean sheet above that, yeah, it'll be many points. Looking onward is the group, and we have the rival Wales, little brother you could say, and also here a few recognized players. Is Nico Williams as a good wingback, and Hennessy, or I'm not sure if Hennessy will start or play all the matches this campaign. It could be Ward who gets the goalkeeping role in this team, but I think they will stick to this lineup, and as always it's Gareth Bale who's the star player, and no matter how much golf he has been playing, he usually end up doing it very well for the national team. He's their captain, he's the goal scorer, he's penalty taker, and he's pretty much doing the most of it. So if you fancy a Wales player, I think it's Bale is the only one you should look at. On to USA, and I really think USA will struggle this tournament. They have a new team and not that much star flair. So some of the players we recognize, and it's Matt Turner in goal, we know about him, and Pulisic from Chelsea hasn't been playing regularly, and Aronson in Leeds has been doing really good. So they have a talent, but as a whole, as a team, I really think they're going to struggle both at the front and at the back this tournament. The last in Group B is Iran, and you can see Saman Ghoddos here is Swedish roots. He's been grown up in Sweden, but he's playing for the Iran national team, and yeah, I really don't think we're looking anywhere in this Iran team for fantasy assets. They're really going to struggle in this group, and really going to struggle, I think, every single game they play, both in attack and both in defense. Moving on to Group C, and we have the favorites Argentina, and Messi is going to be the top priority to get in. He's in my team, and if you look at this lineup, he looks a little bit more back, but be sure he's going to take that ball and he's going to run with it close to his feet and aim for the goal. And it looks like this is his final tournament he will be playing, so I really think he will do well. He's been gearing up in the PSG, and yeah, on penalties he'll take some set pieces, and he'll do very much in this national team where he is kind of an icon and a talisman. So he's nailed in my team, even though he's around 11 and a half. So be sure to pick him. And another interesting player is Di Maria. If he is fit, he is a really good asset to choose from in the Argentinian offense. Other words, there are a lot of rotation, and perhaps Lautaro Martinez will make a few goals, but it's also perhaps Alvarez who will give and share some minutes. So I don't think I'll be going to Lautaro Martinez, even though he's a lot cheaper than Messi. I'll stick to the goalkeeper, the penalty taker, and the big star in this Argentinian team. And you can also look back in the defensive line by Martinez and Tagliafico, but I think Otamendi will start, but many of the places in the defense in this Argentinian team are up for grabs. So perhaps there are few sure starters, so we really don't know where to go here. But I'm leaning on, I want an Argentinian defensive player, and perhaps Otamendi, his goal contribution for Argentina, for his Argentinian career is 4 goals, so that's not a lot if you think about the number of matches he has played, but yeah, he could be a one to choose from. If we move on to Poland, and the first thing we think about in Poland is of course Lewandowski, although he hasn't been up to his game in the big tournaments, and obviously he's not getting the service as he gets in Bayern Munich or now in Barcelona, but perhaps he can do it well this time. I'm not relying on that, and he's not coming near my team at this moment. I'd rather have Zielinski as a number 10 offensive player, offensive midfielder behind him if I were to go to anyone in this Polish team. If you look at Mexico, it's a huge blow for them. I don't really think they will struggle to make it out of the group. Jimenez is going to miss the World Cup, and he's a vital player in their attack and their build around him, so I think they're really going to struggle, and I'm pretty sure none of the Mexican players are going to make it into my lineup in the FIFA World Cup. Moving on to Saudi Arabia, and you could say almost the same. It's a good team if you look by their standards. They're no weak team in this World Cup, but they're certainly one of the weaker teams, and if you're interested, you can look at the lineup and perhaps make a good buy, but none of them are coming near my team. Move on to the last group for this session is France, Group D, and France have been a little off their game lately. Not as good as they have been recently, and it's extremely hard to defend the World Cup, so I'm not sure how they were gonna do this this time around. We have Benzema and Mbappé, the star players in front. It's difficult. Benzema at the fantasy is 11 million and Mbappé is 11.5. I do think Mbappé is worth this time around the 0.5 million more, because Benzema has been a little bit injured, off his game a little bit, and not really match fitness as I would think. So I really think Mbappé, and as news have come out, it's really seems that his huge ego is going to affect the team. So huge ego and a selfish player is usually a good thing in the fantasy world, so I'll be picking Mbappé, I think, but I'm not sure if it's a good thing for the whole of the national team. Griezmann, as last year, have been a little bit off his game, and the most exciting player, I think, is Theo Hernandez. If they play a back five, he is sure to have that wing-back lockdown, and he's so offensive and so good. And you can also look for a bit safer pick Pavard at the other right wing-back. So I think Pavard is a little bit safer, and I would recommend him. But if you feel for it, Theo Hernandez is the more fun pick and the more explosive pick in France. Look at Denmark, and they could very well top their group. They could beat France in the second game. They're not to be underestimated. Dolberg in the attack has been a little bit injured, and Damsgaard is not as sure here. Has not been at his best lately either in the Danish national team. So I think it's Skovals at 6 million who we all should be gathering around. Otherwise, it's Eriksson, and he's been known for a lot of things. He's a very, very talented, good football player and a leader for this national team, and I'm sure he will do okay. But for his price at the 8 million bracket, I really think you can do better, and he has shown, except for penalties, that he will do assists, but he will not give you that huge holes in this World Cup. So I won't be picking Eriksson, even though I really like him as a player. One player I definitely will pick is Mæhle. We recognize him from the previous tournament, the Euros, where he really stood out, and at 4.5 million also this campaign, it's really a no-brainer. Just put him in the team for 4.5 million. So I'm expecting him to be in many teams, and if you don't have him, really give it a second thought to bring him in, because he is really offensive and really do the trick for you. In their group, they also have Australia and France, Tunisia and Denmark, you see, are the opponents, and this is also a team not at its best, not at its peak. We remember, we recognize Matt Ryan in the goalkeeper. Otherwise, there's some pretty good from the Australian League and from the Scottish League, but it's a good team. Don't give me that. I don't want to tell you otherwise, but I don't think they'll be getting much of it in this World Cup, and I'll be staying away from them all. In Group D, we also have Tunisia, the last team, and I really think it's Castri or nobody. Castri as a penalty taker, offensive player, he's been around for a while and still going strong. You could say he's not completely nailed. He'll be sharing minutes probably up front, but if he's playing, he's on penalty, and if you need a 4.5 million midfielder, attacker playing up front, then you really could arguably put him in your team. But don't expect too much, because you don't expect that much from Iran. Last, I want to give you a few thoughts, and here's a huge shout out also to 11fi. 11fi has provided us with stats, and this is a projected goal score. So this is the projected goals scored in the different match days, and you can really give this a thought and figure who is the best player, because sometimes it's not who you think it is that's going to score the most goal. If you look like, example, the Netherlands, they have good players, good defensive players and good offensive defensive players, but I don't think they will be giving that much clean sheets. And when you look at the World Cup, you don't just look at how they have performed in their group. You don't look at only how they have performed in their club. You have to look at current form and how the player is expected to do against the tougher opponents here in the World Cup. And some things stand out. If you look, for example, Kane is a widely chosen player and he's going to be heavily captained in the beginning of the tournament. But if you look at England's score is 1.33, they're expected to score 23 goals in the first game, and that's not a lot. So if you compare us to Brazil and 2.26 goals, you see that Brazil is likely, from the odds makers, to score the double amount of goals as England, and that could mean that Neymar is a more valuable pick than Kane. Even as Kane is on penalties, he has a good group, so I don't think the England, no matter what the score is, the English national team won't be going all on attack like Brazil could do. So give that a thought and look at these numbers, and you can visit 11fi. They have a homepage. You Google it and you comment it. I'll leave a description here also. Link in the description. For me, it's also important to recognize that I'm wildcarding in game week 3. So Since I'm wildcarding, then I won't be looking too much on match day 3 projected goals scored. I'm focusing on the 2 first game weeks, the two first match days as it's called. Another example, you can look at Modric. He's an excellent player, fantastic passer, but his side is expected to create 0.72 goals. So is he worth the 8.5 million he costs when his team isn't expected to do a lot of damage in front? Perhaps nick 1 goal, perhaps win 1-0, tight defense, good team with players who've been there before. I think they're not going to do more than it takes in the group, and they're going to rely on their organization and defensive strength since they scored the first goal. So you can compare that to Ecuador, who's expected to do 2.35 goals the first game, and then these are just approximation, but they give us a clue how they will be scoring and how they will be scoring against the opponents they're meeting. So give that a thought and look at the players in your team, in your fantasy lineup, and look at the best one. And look, if you're looking for attacking players, look at those attacking players who's expected to score more goals. Because perhaps a number 2 like Richarlison in Brazil is going to do better than Kane in England. When we look at the clean sheet points, also things to point out, as I mentioned, the Netherlands, they're good players, but they've never been a good defense, so perhaps you shouldn't overload on the defensive players in the Netherlands. And as you can see in this table, Switzerland is more likely to keep a clean sheet than Netherlands are. So if you're looking for clean sheet points, perhaps you should be looking at Switzerland instead of Netherlands. So that's it for today, and I hope you like it, hope you enjoyed it. If you do, please hit the like button, please subscribe, and hopefully I'll be back for more content and the other groups later. Good luck, and remember, if it goes bad in the fantasy game, it's bad luck. If it goes good, it's skills, and fantasy, it ain't the meaning of life.